I really liked this question because, here with the Hope Not Nope podcast and with Hope Not Nope as a whole in the book and everything, we talk a lot about the hope side of things, right? We talk a lot about, being joyful and grateful and all those things. But I think in order to look at that, we also have to look at the nope. And this listener noticed that. And so they had a question about the nope. And so this is from Angela, and she asks, what are ways that you can combat letting other people's nope narrative affect you negatively?
That is a great question, Angela. Thank you for writing that in. And it's part of the book title, Hope Not Nope. And specifically, we want a nope in there because sometimes to get to hope, you need the nope.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the book goes, and the Hope Not Nope methodology goes towards, is that we can get to hope. We all face nope
Mm-hmm.
at some point. If you're listening and you're like, oh, I haven't faced any nope yet, it'll be coming at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Losing a loved one, losing a job, losing a business, whatever it may be, but that nope is coming at some point. So once we get that nope, then we have to make the choice, well, what do we do with that nope?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, that nope, it's the nope is always powerful. Some people will take that and it puts them on the floor and they can't get back up again. They're hurt, they're traumatized, they're stuck there. They feel like they're stuck there. And then you have that decision to make. Am I going to stay on the floor and live my life like this the rest of my being? Or am I going to do the really courageous, the really hard, the really challenging thing of getting back up again? And to get from nope to hope, it's not an easy path.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple solutions, but they're not easy solutions. And part of it that makes it not easy is when you have other people telling you nope.
Mm-hmm.
You have other people telling you, you can't do that. You can't start a business. You can't write a book. You don't know where commas go. How are you ever going to write a book? Like when people are giving you that nope, and especially when it's people in your circle and in your community, I think there's a level of, we should at first listen to it and just see, do we have any blind spots? Because basically they're giving you a free appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to take all that in, but you take some of that in and just go, okay, maybe they were right on that point. Maybe I'm trying to do this, but I don't have enough of a support system. Okay, I'm going to take that. I'm not going to accept your nope. I'm going to accept your criticism and use that as positive feedback to now continue on this journey of hope.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people that just want to chop you down. There's people that, like, they live to criticize you. And I'll say I faced my fair share of criticism. On the previous podcast I hosted, I would get emails. Great podcast, but you weren't able to pronounce this word correctly. Great podcast, but you didn't enunciate enough. And back to the previous, like, we don't know people's stories. And so I took that and was like, it kind of hurt because I had to go to a lot of speech classes when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I've worked really hard on the ability to say words. There's still words I don't know how to say, and I just like run away from them. I'm just like, let's not try to use that word. And there's a bunch of examples I could give you of that. But like, I've worked really hard to be able to communicate better because I've understood how much language and how much the word we use matter. So when people come and try to chop something down that you've worked so hard at, it's challenging. But the quote that I really love is that if you're being attacked, you're only being attacked because of how important you are. Like, the enemy doesn't create defense for the player on the bench. They're creating a defense for the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So if your hope mission is MVP worthy, which it is,
Mm-hmm.
if you're MVP worthy, which you are, know that the defense is coming. And what we've learned from the Kansas City Chiefs is that a better offense nowadays will beat a better defense.
Mm-hmm.
So the nope is, it's going to come. It's going to come from all different sources, all different types of people. Use it as positive feedback. If it's people that are there just to chop you down and that it's not even like positive feedback, then if they're just pointing a finger versus opening their hand and saying like, let me guide you, don't talk to them about that anymore. Don't give them your time or energy.
Yeah.
Because you're going to waste so much headspace on that one piece of criticism. You're going to forget what you were set out to do. It's challenging, but you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you would add in?
Yeah, I love the way that you phrased your answer, because a lot of what you were talking about was nope, as in people giving you nope. So rejection, um, even like bullying or whatever it may be, judgment, like those are people extending nope towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of Angela's question, I also think of people who are currently living in their nope, and then you being super empathetic towards them and it affecting you because you're you feel for them, you love them, you want to support them, but they're so deep in their nope that then you're almost being pulled into it and you're struggling. And so I love your answer. And then I think, to answer kind of maybe that narrative, in case that was more of what Angela was saying, I'm not sure which one she was saying, but I think, and you've taught me this a lot, you've taught me the ability to be able to hear someone's story, listen to the suffering they're going through, listen to the nope that they're encountering, or maybe even not even listen but observe it. There's times where we're not even able to talk to them, but say it's like a family member who's really struggling and they don't want to open up, but you can tell, right? Like all of that is nope. You've really taught me how to take it in and know that it's a thing, and being sensitive to it and being kind within the situation, but then realizing and pulling myself back and say, this is not for me. And so there's times, and I've given my friends this advice where, they won't, like, they're talking to their dad on their phone, and the dad is just talking about how terrible the rest of the family is, and then that person's shooken up for like 3 weeks because of that one conversation. And I've told them, you don't want to cut out your dad. You don't want to stop the relationship with your dad because you can't handle the phone call. What you want to do is, after the phone call, remind yourself, this is not for me to carry. This is not for me to hold on to. I let it go, I release it. And so any more feedback on that side of it, because I think more people need to learn how to release those situations. You can still love and be empathetic, but to really like release so that it's not on your shoulders as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And from my mentor, Dr. David Boylan, I had to learn this early on in my career because I'm a very empathetic person. When people are suffering and they're crying, I cry with them. When they celebrate, I celebrate with them. When they're sharing their story, I try to be there with them in those moments. And it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because when you start hearing these stories, you start realizing how much evil there can be in this world. But then you realize how much good that there can be once you start getting from the nope to the hope. So it's hard. And I remember, having back pain for 6 months and not knowing why I was having it. I'm working out, I'm hitting my hamstrings extremely hard, like physiologically, biomechanically, I'm doing all the things I should be doing that would say that I shouldn't have back pain anymore, but I was still having it. And I remember a mentor just going, well, how much of your client's story are you taking on and not getting rid of? Like, you're just holding on to that. So it's not, you can keep training your hamstrings, you can keep doing your low back exercises, but you need to figure out a way to be there for them, hear their story, live it with them, but then for you to release it. I'm a physical person, so for me, I use physical cues.
Mm-hmm.
That now, when we're going into a story, when a client's sharing it with me, I'll use a physical cue that's now been conditioned in my brain to say, you're not, you're meant to listen, you're meant to be there with this person, but you're not meant to take this on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helpful because it's not this physical cue of like clapping with a story, but it's just like rubbing my hands together,
Mm-hmm.
or just like a quick face rub, or like rubbing my hands through the beard, like something that's a natural cue that would happen during a conversation.
Right.
I just change what that physical conditioning is to that behavior. So now my brain knows when I do this, it's to say, don't be overwhelmed, be there for them, love them, cry with them, but don't take it on as your own.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been helpful. The other thing I would say is boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
and setting those boundaries, which again is a challenge. But in that example that you were using, of like a father or family member that's like saying things about this family member or this cousin or this person or that person,
Right.
you just say, "Hey, Dad, I love you, and when we talk on the phone, I'm calling because I want to catch up with you. I want to know what's been good about your day. Can we talk about that?" Conversation changed.
Mhm.
Like you can get someone from complaining to joy so fast with just redirecting the conversation. If the redirection's not working, like you probably have to redirect a few times in the conversation,
Right.
but keep redirecting. If the redirecting stops working, then you set a very tough boundary of, and I've had to do this with people before. If you start talking about this subject, I will hang up the phone
Mhm.
because I've tried to redirect it. I've tried to help the
Yeah.
conversation, but if you speak of this thing in a negative tone, I've tried to not take it on, but it's hurtful and I love you, so don't take this as the wrong way, but I have to do this for me. If that conversation comes up, I'm hanging up.
Mhm.
What ends up happening, at least in this case that I've done it, is that the person calls back or they'll text you and they're like, "I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to bring that up. It just came up. I apologize." So there is something to be said about having a boundary for something that the physical cue isn't working for you.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. And I think that I feel like that's a hidden secret that more people need to know about because in this world, whether you're maybe they teach this, in school, depending on the profession you're in, if you're a therapist or um, a counselor or a doctor or something like that. But for me, I didn't learn any of that. I actually learned be as empathetic as possible and like care for the people. But I think that this is a healthy way and like you said earlier, very simple way and simple solution to be able to still enter into people's lives without feeling the heaviness that they're feeling. And so, whatever that nope is that those people are going through, it's not for you to carry on. And especially if you're in your own journey out of nope and into hope, or if you're really thriving in your hope, you don't want to get pulled back. And there are waves, there are days where it feels like a step backwards in order to go forwards, but you don't want to get like suckered back into the nope. And so, these are just very simple techniques that they've helped me immensely, immensely. And so I hope that our listeners, it'll help them as well.
Yeah, and I think it's the last point of this is taking the initiative and the idea that like when I'm working with people, I tell them straight up, I am not fixing you.
Mm-hmm.
You are fixing you. I am just here to guide.
Mm-hmm.
And when we use that approach, one, it gives the person ownership, it gives them self agency, it empowers them. But then two, the conversations start to change because what can happen is people can just start calling you or emailing you about this happened, this went wrong, this went wrong.
Yeah.
What do I do to fix this? Well, what do you do to fix this?
Mm-hmm.
Let me guide you back to the power that you have to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
And at times we need a lot of guidance. It's like the first time I went hiking in the Adirondacks, would not have gone by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I went with a friend who was a now two-time 46er, has done the John Muir Trail, like gifted me his hiking backpack, is another incredible mentor that I've had. Most of the things I know in strength and conditioning has come from this gentleman. So phenomenal guy. And he invited
Wow.
me one weekend to go on a hike. And I went on the hike and I remember the whole time being like, I don't know if we're on the trail or not on the trail.
Wow.
I needed a lot of guidance on this new path. He wasn't walking for me. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
carrying my pack. He
Yeah.
was just saying, hey, this is the way that we need to go. Hey, let me pull up my GPS. This is the way that we need to go. The next time that I went up there on the same trail, I still needed guidance, but not as much guidance.
Mm-hmm.
This time I'm able to go with a different friend. And now I've learned look for trail markers. I can find the trail markers, and the trail markers can let me know where I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time I went up, oh, I don't need the trail markers. You kind of always need the trail markers, but you don't need the trail markers as much
Right.
because now I remember the terrain. I remember which path leads to which path. So you start to build up this library that you can now reference. But the only reason you have that library is because in the beginning phases on that new path, you were guided.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. And it just reminds me that it takes a village. We need other people. There's this awesome quote, and I wish I knew it all, but It's from Jamie Twardakowski, who founded To Write Love on Her Arms. And it says, you know, we need sunsets and we need coffee shops and all these different things. But at the bottom, it says, we need other people. No matter what, we need living, screaming, breathing, loving other people. And I think that quote changed my life in high school. And there were times where I was like, I don't like people, I don't want to be around them. But in reality, our journey in life is meant to be surrounded by other people to guide us, and that eventually we can guide as well.